Good morning, Friday morning. Thank Crunchy it's Friday, another day. And there I just stuck, I have no idea what date it is, but it's definitely Friday, I know that much. So welcome to Z, the final letter of our alphabet, and we've managed to roll our way through. Good morning, Louise, I hope you're well up Mortney. Here we go. Let you have a wee look at the waterfall. So we're Z in the zone. Good morning, Carella. Hope you're well. Friday, happy Friday to everyone. End of the week. Hope you're looking forward to the weekend and having a relaxing weekend. Right, let's get started. Good morning. Look at that round about me. Isn't I lucky? I feel lucky. Okay, we've got to the end of the alphabet, we've got to Z. I've got no idea what's next, if there's going to be a next, because I hadn't really planned it to be, I hadn't planned something beyond Z, but okay, Z, getting in the zone, being in the zone, what does that mean? And flow states, or as some people like to call it, alpha states. I personally like flow. For me, when I hear alpha state, I immediately think of alpha male and find it a little bit dominant, although alpha state is primarily what we're going to be talking about because that's what we experience when we're in the zone. I also personally don't like the word zone. When I hear zone, I feel it's quite constrictive, I feel it's quite tight. So when I'm talking with clients that are looking to achieve peak performance and how they get themselves into flow state, it's flow that I use because flow to me is quite moving. It's also quite a powerful thing as well. So, but can't call it F or A for alpha because we're on Z for the zone. Right, what is the zone and getting into the zone? Right, okay, got to speak a little bit about the brain first. So we have electrical activity in the brain. The brain's an electrochemical organism. The electrical activity of the brain ranges from 0 hertz right up and beyond 3600 hertz. And when you're getting into gamma, but that's not important to know about that for flow state. So we have delta, theta, alpha, and beta. Now, delta's a very slow and rhythmic state of consciousness. It's quite sleepy if you're in delta, you're asleep. If you're in delta when you're awake, you could have had major trauma, you could be very hungover, you could be suffering or experiencing fatigue, right? So delta's a very slow and rhythmic wave. Then we move up into theta, and then we move into alpha. Alpha states is where we want to be. Alpha states is between 800 hertz and 1200 hertz. Right, where we would really want somebody in flow state to be is at the standard deviation of the Bell graph curve, which would be between 8 and 1200, which is about, you'd really probably be looking at 1100 hertz optimum. And that's just my opinion. Other people have different opinions of that. So what does getting into flow states mean, getting into the zone mean? It means that you're more creative. It means that you're more... You're better, you're on your game, you're being the best version that you can be yourself, okay? So how do you start to get into those places? So a little bit of background, as I said, about brainwave activity. Now, what happens is most of us, most of the time, are walking about in like a hypnagogic trance. We're walking about hypnotised. We're just following old scripts and schemas. Even if those scripts and schemas and patterns of behaviour are harmful and erroneous to us, we keep doing it. You know, we get in the car, we don't think about it, we drive to work. Get in the car, drive to work. Get in the car, drive to work. We're not fully present, which means we're not in alpha, right? What we're doing is we're zoning it out rather than zoning in, right? So the book, How Can I Describe Alpha? Alpha States of Consciousness. It's about being very present. So that great book, one of Eckhart Tolle's first book, The Power of Now. The Power of Now is probably talking a lot about alpha states of consciousness. So what we want to do is we want to, how do we get into alpha states? So for me, this is just for me, do your own research and what works for you. But step 12 of the 12-step process, which is once you've had a spiritual awakening through working the steps, you go out and take the message to other people that are suffering, right? So the content of step 12 to me is sharing, right? So when I'm sharing, I instantly go into states of flow. I get into flow states. And I don't know if you heard me yesterday, because I was on a roll, if you like. I was in a flow state. And when I was trying to say goodbye, have a nice day, I found it, I was trying to pull myself back out of a flow state, right, to get it over with. Okay, so flow states, getting in the zone, right? So for me personally, it's easier for me to access the zone when I'm giving, when I'm sharing, right? When I'm sharing myself. Now, what happens when we get into flow state is that our neocortex goes completely online, and our prefrontal cortex here sort of switches off. Now, your prefrontal cortex here is a great place to be in. Most of us are living life from our old scripts and schemas from the past. We're living in old narratives and old stories. We're telling ourselves old stories and old compulsions that we're not good enough, and and this is our lot, and we've made our bed and we just need to lie in it. And all those erroneous and harmful states of consciousness that we allow ourselves to be in. So when we start to do meditation and mindfulness exercises, we start to come up into our prefrontal cortex, predominantly our left occipital there. Now, when we're in flow states, so another way that I get into flow very quickly is I ride motorcycles. I've rode motorbikes all my life. So when I'm grooving down and I'm hitting a real curve, I'm curving a lot and I'm getting the bike down and I'm completely disappeared. I'm not here. I lose track of myself. I lose track of time, space and matter. Surfing's another way that's phenomenal for getting you into alpha states. But we can learn how to get ourselves into these alpha states and alpha ways of being without having to be a top athlete or indeed getting on top of a surfboard. Okay, so if you're interested in this kind of stuff, I would always encourage you to do your own research and look into it. Now, coincidences and synchronicities that happen. Stephen Lafferty's just came online. Now, Stephen Lafferty, I know Stephen well, but his brother's my best friend. Both of these guys that just came online, it's gave me an idea, are high-level martial artists. There's no other way to describe it. Now, when I watch them, sorry, Stephen, I know you're good, and I know that you've got a few dans above your brother. But when I watch them and I know them as people, I know them relatively well, I know their habits, I know their behaviours. When I watch them perform and I see them get into kata, it's almost like the spirit of the Lord just fills them, the energy just fills them, the chi. They become completely different people. It's almost like something comes into them, right? Because they're completely focused in the task, they lose everything, they're completely in the zone. Similar, there's certain ministers that I've listened to preach, and they can be quite flowery and quite soft and wobbly, and the minute they start preaching the scriptures or something that they believe in, it's almost like a transformation comes in front of my eyes. Now, I'm going to give you one more example. America's Got Talent just came back on. There was a 10-year-old Canadian girl, right? I watched it at least half a dozen times. Some of those times the tears were running down my eyes. This little 10-year-old girl sang that song, Lady Gaga, the song they did for the movie. And the little girl was shy, reserved. She was terrified. She was anxious. Watch her. I would encourage you to watch this. And she started singing. And oh my God, she went from a 10-year-old nervous little girl to the energy of an absolute lion. She was completely in the zone. Every hair in my neck was standing up. But you can physically watch about a minute in, and I'll tell you where I noticed it, because I watched it and watched it and watched it to go, what is happening to that little girl? Is there a spirit or an energy, or what is going on that's causing this power? Every hair in my arm standing on end. And if you're interested in it and you go to America's Got Talent, little 10-year-old Canadian girl that got up and sang Lady Gaga's song, it was when she started moving. She started walking on stage and she just embodied this energy and started giving herself completely to the audience, where she was sharing. Now, anyone can access getting into the zone. Anybody can. You've got to find your own way of doing it. There's many different ways out there, but there are no such things in my world as coincidences or synchronicity. And this morning, by complete chance, I met, while I was on my walk, an ultra marathon runner. He wouldn't describe himself as an elite athlete, but he's up there. He has done his MED in growth mindset, studied at master's level to do growth mindset. And when I was walking with him this morning, we had a little blather. I said, "You're not going to believe this. I'm doing a little vlog on getting in the zone, and then I've met you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass you over to Mr. Clark Burrow, who is an absolute expert in this field. And not only does he use peak performance techniques and growth mindset techniques and how he gets into the zone for himself, but his passion as a teacher and a PE teacher is how to get young people to achieve their best possible outcomes. And he gives like nobody I know to young people within the schools and the communities that he works in and is around. So I'm going to put you over to Clark Burrow. I hope you enjoy what he says. I know you will. We've had an absolutely fantastic conversation walking along here this morning, and I will see you in a few minutes, or maybe even 10 or 20, whatever it takes. Here he's here, Clark Burrow.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks very much for your kind words there, Ross. I was actually in the zone when I met Ross this morning, and then I was quickly taken out of it when I was on my run. But Ross kindly asked me to come on today and share a few things that I do in terms of getting into. I heard Ross speaking about flow state there, which for me, in the research that I've done for my master's degree, is where your skill level and your attributes meets the challenge that's presenting itself in front of you. So for me, it's difficult to always be in the flow state, but it's something that when you're in it, you all know that you're in it because you're not really thinking about what you're doing, you're just doing it because you've got that experience and you've practiced the skill. Or so for example would be reading a book. You can get into flow state when you're reading, so you're just present and in the moment. Something that's been really beneficial for me recently to get into flow state has been, I came across a book called Ikigai. So it's IKI meaning life, and GAI meaning the benefit or the result of. So it's basically the meaning of life, and it comes from a Japanese term which means the reason for being. And it's basically a self-reflection task which I can send out to you if you put your email as a comment or send it to Ross privately. I can send it over to you. It's like 12 questions where you fill in when are you at your happiest, when do you feel most fulfilled, what's your purpose. It's sort of looking at purpose in your life. It just gets you to really think about it. I done it the other day, and I sat for 2 hours just in a room and wrote down all the notes, and it's something I'm going to review and then take action on. It just helps me sort of self-reflect and work out where I'm at and what I still need to do and sort of why I'm here. I feel like it's quite deep, but it gives me that feeling of being, I feel like. Other things that I do to get into flow state would be, I quite like visualisation as an effective technique, which is a technique that I use when I'm running. So if I feel as if I'm not in the flow state, I would visualise myself from the outside, looking in at the outside of myself. So I'd be thinking that I'm not actually in my body, and I'm on a tree maybe, acting like a bird, and I'm looking down on myself. Now that just helps me get out of my own thoughts. Try it. It's really effective for me anyway. Just for a few minutes, and it sort of takes yourself out of your thoughts and what you're thinking about and brings you back to the present. It's quite a difficult one to get used to start with, but it's something that's helped me in the past few runs that I've been on, sometimes struggling to get into that flow state. There's other ways that I do it as well, obviously through the meditation that we do in the morning. Every morning I do a 10-minute guided breathing, Wim Hof style session with the boys at the water. Now that can be difficult, some days it's easy, it just depends on what's going on in my head at the time. But it's a good way to just focus on the breath, as you all probably have heard. You've all heard the meditation. It's quite a popular word now, and it's something that's right out there and everyone's trying it, so it's another way. So hopefully that's a few ways that I've shared, but I would recommend that you do that task, the reason for being, the Japanese term ikai. That's one thing. If you take away from this, I'm sure it'll be a beneficial exercise for yourself and for those who are close to you if they want to try it. It's definitely helped me recently, so I don't think there's anything else I need to say. Ross, I think I'll pass you back over to round it up, if that's alright.
How was it? Good?
Aye?
Go well. Right everyone, wasn't that a treat this morning? How funny, you get exactly what you need, don't you? Wandering along thinking about the zone, and all of a sudden I meet somebody that's not only living it, utilising it and using it in their own life, they're actually qualified in this field, which is fantastic. So getting into the zone for me as well is taking total accountability, taking total personal responsibility for where you are, and having, again, using one of the things I've learned, I'm jumping about a bit here again, so that's what I do, I'm not as focused as Clark, but words, linguistic, goals. Don't really love the word goals. When we start to look at things linguistically, as I said, for me, getting in the zone is all about flow. It's a flow state. It's where you get those juices to flow. But also we've got to let go of control, which means we've got to be vulnerable. And we look at these words in this journey that I've been on with you. It's been fantastic for me. And I know that it's worked for quite a lot of people because I've had some feedback about it. That, flow state, we've got to be vulnerable. We've got to let go of our old constructs and who we think we are. Because when we enter into a state of flow and time, space and matter completely disappears, we've got to let go of a lot of those old constructs and limiting beliefs and who we think we actually are. So it's not just quite as simple, but what we can do through doing your own research, listening to Clark, if anything that I've said to you has been helpful, we've got the power at the fingertips to start to co-create and manifest a far better world so that you can be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And I believe that's possible. I'm fitter at 47 than I was at 27. And I know I'm panting away here, but we're already 8 mile in, and we're moving towards 33 miles a day. Over 3 days we're doing 96 miles. I wouldn't have dreamt of doing that when I was 26, 27 years old. I think Clark's got something he's wanting to say again. Just quickly.
So obviously this is Z in the alphabet for Ross. Ross has been doing this for the full month. I've really enjoyed listening into them, and I feel as if I've taken things away, but it's really about how are you then implementing it for me. So I would encourage you to take things, the wee things that you learn, and start testing it on a day-to-day basis and see what benefit it brings, rather than sometimes just listening to it and not really doing anything with it. So it's all, for me, it's about massive action and then just reflecting on it and then deciding whether you want to continue that behaviour or habit in order to bring about the best results for yourself, because it's all about yourself at the end of the day. Have a great day. I didn't actually say that the last time, so have a great Friday and enjoy your weekend, everybody.
Oh, back to me again. We're getting passed about here like a magazine in the prison, right? Aren't we? Getting passed about here like a magazine in the prison. Anyway, yeah, Clark, I overheard him saying that. I think I said in one of my vlogs about compassion. Just because you go and read a book about the Dalai Lama talking about compassion doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be compassionate. We have to exercise these muscles. We have to implement these trainings. And the buck stops with you. The buck stops with me. Take personal accountability for where you're at. If you're crab it, work through it. If you're fearful, work through it. If you're jealous, vulnerable, work through it. And vulnerability is key. Vulnerability for me, I'll speak to Clark after this because we actually never had a conversation before we got online. I just said, here, you want to do this morning? But as I said, when we let go of these scripts and schemas and narratives that are coming from limbic regions of our brain, we're moving up into the left occipital and prefrontal cortex. These are all areas where we have a certain degree of control over our subjective reality. When we move into the neocortex, that's why when we're in flow states, we don't feel as if time exists. We've got to let go of quite a bit of control over who or what we thought we were, and this reality is being solid and rigid to a much more flexible reality. As Bruce Lee said, Be like water, my friend. Be like bamboo. We have to start to learn to be more flexible. And in doing so, we have to learn to be more compassionate to ourselves. So flow states, getting in the zone, alpha states, you know, whatever you want to call it, it's not so much a very masculine way of being, but you have to, as we spoke yesterday, yin and yang, animus and anime, we have to have a degree of receiving, because we've got to let go of a lot of control in order to enter into these states of being. And there's many states of consciousness that we can inhabit and frequent, not just the moaning minnie of the west of Scotland, the weather's absolutely rubbish today and I can't get out and do anything, right? That's one way of consciousness. Now again, words like I'm fantastic, I'm doing fantastic, these aren't words that I would use, because linguistically I think they're very fantasy-like words. They're words of fantasy. So start to choose your words very, very wisely, right? Because linguistics has a massive part in how we're communicating with our environment. Now, a word that might work for you might not work for me. Words that work for me might not work for you, right? You've got to find your own flow, right? Again, as Clark said, you read a book with the Dalai Lama, and compassion doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be compassionate. You read the Bible and read about what Christ does. If you don't start putting these principles into practice, it's just basically a fantasy, right? We have to take charge and take reality. And with that, communally and interdependently, we can start to co-create a better community and a better way of living. Without that much effort, we've just got to have the want to do it. We've got to have the why. As I said in one of my vlogs, Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning and Man's Search for Ultimate Meaning, check him out, fantastic author, was put in camps in Auschwitz. And he said, when you've got a why and when you've got a how, you can achieve anything. That's what we're looking at here. It's been absolutely incredible to walk through. I think I posted up in my YouTube channel, I'm up at about 78 or 79 videos. If you'd have said to me back in March, when my colleague at work challenged me to do vlogs, that I would be talking to you every morning, I'd have looked at you as if you had horns in your head. I didn't even think I could have done the alphabet. You know, spelling, punctuation, grammar, and even the way I speak isn't top notch, first class, top drawer material. And here we are, we've got through 26 letters of the alphabet together, friends. We've done a fantastic journey. Give yourself credit for the time that you've been able to put into listening to this. Now it's time to start implementing it. I don't know what's next, I've not got a plan. I think I might take the weekend off and reevaluate my goals, my hows, my whys, and no think about what it is that I need to achieve, but what others need to achieve and how we can start together, start co-creating that. Wish you all the very best. Have a fantastic Friday. Say, fantastic. Have a great Friday. Be safe, look after one another. And, give yourself to something. Give yourself to something. Let go of the resentments that you might have about, I don't want to really be doing this. Just commit yourself wholeheartedly. Give it your all. Get in there. And have a great weekend. All the best. Thanks for watching.